I got to ask you this because you did serve in Afghanistan and you're into creepy stories. Did you hear about the Kandahar giant?
Oh yeah, I covered it.
I haven't seen
myself.
that episode.
So
Did you hear about it when you were over there?
So I did. I talked to one of our interpreters when I was over there because I had heard of it. Because I told you in my own personal time, I find myself researching and learning about all sorts of crazy stuff like Dark Five, and so the Kandahar giant it's a fascinating story, and it's one that people can poo-poo it all they want, but there's enough circumstantial evidence and testimony that suggests something could have happened. So there's this guy, I think he was a Green Beret, and he goes by like W on the internet. He's like sort of anonymized himself, but he came forward with this story where he described he and his battalion had been tasked to go find these missing, I think, Army Rangers. You got to give me some grace on the details. I haven't told this in a minute. But there were these Army Rangers that had gone missing up in the mountains in Kandahar. And so this guy, W, who years later is telling the story to, I think, a reporter or something, he and his platoon, they head off into the mountains to go find these guys. And if you're not familiar with the landscape of Afghanistan, it's like a desert, but a mountain everywhere. It's like it looks like the surface of Mars or something. You're looking out and it's both stunningly beautiful in that there's snow-capped mountains off in the distance, and but it's also it's jagged, it's sharp, it looks like just a rugged place to be. And they're hiking through the mountains, and eventually they come across, and there's nothing. There's no structures, nothing. They're hiking along this trail up on the side of the mountain, and they see what looks like metal. I think it's like a military grade metal, like a piece of a radio or something. And so this guy W and his crew, they find what appears to be remains of like literally a radio. It's a government issued radio, and there's a goat trail that heads up this mountain. And so they follow the goat trail, and as they're going, they're finding more and more little bits of an antenna. There's a piece of somebody's backpack that's got there's a camo backpack. So there's remnants of somebody being out here, military. We don't know who it is. They can't hear anything. They're calling out. They have no comms with anybody in the area. They go up this little goat trail, and they get to this plateau, and they see, as I recall it, just like equipment everywhere, and there's like bones, there's like military equipment, like pieces all over this plateau, and there's this fucking cave entrance that's like ominously sitting in front of this semi-flat plateau at the top of this mountain. And immediately, W and his crew, they're like, oh my God, like they must have been ambushed right here. This is the remains of whoever was killed, of this missing battalion. And so they end up walking into this cave to see if there's any survivors or combatants or whatever. And I guess a couple of guys went in, and they reported it being so dark they couldn't see anything, and there was a steep drop off. So they backed out of the cave. And then at some point, a fucking spear, like a javelin, comes soaring out of the cave entrance and fucking impales this dude Mike on the recovery team, kills him. And this huge giant, they would describe him, comes running out of the cave, big red beard. He's got like tribal, regalia on, and he's like fisticuffing with the army, backup crew here. They all shoot and they kill him, and the thing falls down. It's got like six fingers on each hand, 6 toes, but it's dead. And everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, Mike's been killed by a spear. There's this huge giant laying here. Nobody knew what it was. They thought it was a person, but they didn't know. A helicopter came in, and they put him in a net, the body, and they flew it off. And then the survivors, they were taken off, and like there was no one was like W and his crew were not given any sort of like, hey, yeah, this turned out this was the missing battalion, and oh, don't worry, this is a giant. Like there was no debrief. They just they left. But then through the grapevine, W reported hearing that apparently this fucking giant body was brought to an air base, and some of the pilots that had flown the helicopter had seen it, and they had been talking about it having 6 fingers, 6 toes. And, they signed not NDAs, they did the equivalent in the military of you're not going to talk about this. And then it was sort of ushered away. But there was all these people on that base that effectively came out and said, we saw what appeared to be a giant with 6 fingers, 6 toes. This guy Mike, apparently, according to W's story, was killed. I mean, there's a guy who's been killed by this thing by a spear, apparently. And
is there a record of his death?
This is all, you have to keep in mind, this is all almost entirely from W's account. there's long been a history of people claiming there are giants in the mountains of Kandahar. I talked to the interpreters that I was working with in Afghanistan, and they had said that they had heard rumors of there being giants that live in the caves, especially in Kandahar. So there's already sort of lore around this, but this guy W comes out and has this narrative where he apparently tells this reporter, and he remained anonymous. So in terms of confirming details, it's sparse to say the least.
The sketchiest part about it is something that big needs a lot of calories. And so they have to eat a lot of animals. And it doesn't seem like that's a very heavily populated area when it comes to animals. Like, you would need the amount of food that it would need. Like, if you have a 12-foot tall human being or whatever it is, and it weighs 2,000 pounds, you know how much fucking meat you need in a day?
Yeah, that's a good, just logically speaking, what does it eat?
Right.
Yeah.
It would have to, like, constantly be eating meat. And you'd have to stay alive without getting spotted. So you have to go out there and hunt meat.
Yeah, and how no one really knows you exist.
You're hunting with a javelin?
The way I see it is, having been to Afghanistan, certainly not encountering any giants, you see parts of Afghanistan that really do look like you're on another planet. I mean, it's really these crazy just mountains everywhere, and you see these cave systems, where typically combatants would hide out in. But what I tell people is, well, I don't know if the Kandahar giant is real or not.
But it's fun.
Yeah, it's great.
It's fun.
If there were a place where a giant could still be hiding out, or giants could still be technically unproven, it's Afghanistan. Because, dude, that's a different world over there. There aren't people wandering around Afghanistan looking for giants.
He's listed as 8 feet tall, but I think 7'6" is probably a more recognized number. He went viral in 2019 for showing up in India and looking for a hotel at a cricket match.
Bro, look at his face. Look at that. Go to that photo over there of him right above there. Yeah. Bro. But that guy looks like he has giantitis. He looks like he has a pituitary gland problem, like Andre the Giant.
There's another tall guy, too. This guy's 8'3".
Oh, my God.
Whoa. And he's from Turkey.
Yeah, but see, look, this guy's hurting. He can barely walk around. He's probably got a disease that's forcing him to just excrete too much growth hormone. Just like Bigfoot Silva. Bigfoot Silva was an MMA fighter that had giantism, and he had a tumor in his pituitary gland.
Oh.
At the time, he was like more than 300 pounds. He was enormous, giant head. But he had an operation, and I believe he did. I know people that have had giantism do get an operation where they remove the tumor in the pituitary gland, but then the problem is their body's just not making any hormones anymore. It's all fucked up. Either way, it's fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
It's a fun story. The Kandahar Giant's a fun story. It's a really crazy story, and I hope it's real. That's my problem with all these things. I hope they're real.
I have one final story, if you let me, that has nothing to do with giants. But
okay.
I don't know if you've heard it. It's super short, but it's, in terms of material, it's amazing. You ever heard of Harrison Okene?
No.
Okay. So there was this tugboat that was off the coast of Africa. They were on, whatever they were doing. They were tugging a boat or whatever. And there's 12 people on board, including Harrison Okene. He's a chef. And he's in the bathroom of this tugboat. And at some point in the middle of the night, a wave...
There he is.
Is that him? I don't know if that is. Actually, that looks like Harrison Okene. Nope, you can't see that.
Well, let me see it.
No.
Let me see it.
Let him tell a story.
All right, so the boat
Spoiler.
flips over. The boat flips over, and Harrison is...
I do know this story.
And he ends up walking down the upturned hallway, and he finds an air pocket inside of, like, the bathroom. And for 60 hours, he sat in total darkness, half submerged in water, sipping a Coca-Cola, waiting for the pocket to implode. And then there's a video of the recovery divers as they're going in to find bodies. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're going in here to find them. And then a hand reaches down and grabs them. It's like one of the most incredible stories I think I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But Harrison Okene, I wonder what it was like in terms of, like, true primal fear. You're 100 feet at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh.
I've heard some stories that he even described the sound of sea life bumping around in the upturned vessel. So, like, the sound of sharks likely eating the bodies of your buddies. And you're thinking at any point, the pocket's going to collapse. For 60 hours he waited, and he survived, and now he's no longer working on a tugboat. He stays on land.
Yeah, I would imagine. Well, dude, thank you very much for being here, man.
Dude, it's been awesome.
Your show's awesome.
Thank you.
You're a really great storyteller.
Thank you.
And congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
Well earned. Thank you.